And welcome in, everybody. This is Friday, July 23rd, 2021. Vasu, Vaddiparty, Charlie O here. The Make the Money and Run podcast powered by Stables Media. Thanks to everybody on Facebook Live and YouTube Live for joining us. If you miss any of the live broadcasts, you can download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, SoundCloud. We are here Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Mondays at noon Eastern, Mondays at 3 Eastern, Thursdays at noon Eastern, and Fridays right now at 1 Eastern. We're going to jump right into it as we get into week 2 of baseball. Charlie and I haven't been on air together. We'll talk NBA a little bit later. We'll put a cap on the NBA and the not so too soon to get the NBA odds. Apparently the futures odds are out for the NBA for 2021-22. So Charlie and I will discuss that later. But we got trade deadline to talk about. We're here with Nate Miller of the Fishbowl Radio Network and also the International Baseball Writers Association, IBWAA. Nate is the beat writer for the Texas Rangers. Why do we bring him on? Because the Texas Rangers is at the center of it in terms of trade deadline. First of all, Nate, thank you for being on with us on the Make the Money and Run crowd. How are you, and what's going on?
My pleasure. I'm doing well. Nothing much is going on other than the Rangers have lost 9 straight. So it'll be a really interesting deadline for them.
And they've lost 9 straight, and they're probably going to be without 2 players coming up. So let's get right to it. The trade deadline a week from today. They're usually on the 31st, but because it's a Saturday and they got day games going on, they made it to Friday so that anybody that gets traded by 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock our time, will be traded before the games start next week, unless it's a Cubs game, I guess. But Joey Gallo and Kyle Gibson, the 2 big names on Texas. What do you know about? What do you know about, or what are you hearing about since you're there every day with on the beat with the Rangers as far as Gallo and Gibson?
I'm mostly just hearing rumors right now. Nothing is definite. I've been hearing rumors about Gallo since mid-March, really. There was one rumor that he was going to the Yankees at one point, and now I don't know where he's going, if he's going at all. So we were talking about NL East possibly. I don't know, NL West. So it could be any one of those divisions, and it's just, it's anyone's guess.
Well, what do you think? Go ahead, Charlie.
Nate, let me ask you a question. The Rangers moved into that new stadium, and usually a team kind of plans out its personnel to work itself around so that when it pops into a new stadium, that's when they have their personnel ripe and ready to go and have themselves be competitive, at least in its division, and at least trying to be competitive for a playoff position. That hasn't happened for the Rangers. Was that just a gigantic mistake on the part of the front office? Was it a weak farm system? Was it injuries? Because it just hasn't happened for them.
I don't know what it was. Sadly, I think they were more concerned about the roof than the actual product on the field.
Yeah, sure. And
it's just like, so far there hasn't been a product on the field, and there won't be, at least this year, and probably not next year either. And it's just, I think they're just wanting to get more people to the ballpark. But unfortunately, you're not going to be able to do that for very long if you don't put somebody on the field. And yeah, I really don't know what the holdup is.
Okay, so let's get back to the trade deadline here. So Joey Gallo, Kyle Gibson, obviously the 2 big names for the Texas Rangers. A lot of interest in the starting pitching. And, of course, Joey Gallo, 24 home runs, I believe. He's had some I've seen him play in Oakland. I'm sure you saw him play a lot of the AL West teams as well, too. But the fact is that they are on the move with him, and they are on the move with Kyle Gibson to rebuild again. They've got Garcia. They've got young guys in the system that they can bring up. But do you think it's harder to trade right now because they have another year left on their contract? Do you think it's going to cost them more prospects because it's not just a rental for either one of those guys, and specifically Gallo, than it would be because you're going to have control of them through 2022?
Yeah, I think that is a holdup because, you want to make sure the price is right. Cliche, but it's just it's not a good time to trade, especially for Gallo, because he has that 1 year, 1 extra year, and I hope they keep him, but I really don't know if they will.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Nate, what do you I mean, I know this is pure speculation because none of us know what's really going on a front office of a baseball team. But what do you speculate that they want back for Gallo? Do they want prospects? Do they want major league ready players back for him?
I don't know if they can afford major league players in exchange for him. So I'm assuming they'll go after prospects. If it's a major league player, he would have to be just as good as Gallo, whether it's hitting or pitching. Maybe they'll get a pitcher for him. I don't know, but it's got to be at least equal to Gallo. And if it's not a major league player, they're going to need like 3 or 4 prospects to measure up to him. That's how much I like him.
Our guest, Nate Miller of the Basement Show of the Fishbowl Radio Network, can be heard weekly with his co-host, Billie Ball. I've been on there a few times with them. It's a great listen. Obviously, the three of us love baseball, and not a lot of people can say that in 21st century sports right now, but we three talk baseball all the time. But Joey Gallo, Kyle Gibson, we said the Texas Rangers, they're obviously struggling right now. I don't even know how many games they're back, but they've lost 9 in a row. The fact that he's got another year on his contract, I got to think that they probably are. I was listening to some of the game yesterday on the Rangers broadcast. They were on yesterday afternoon against the Tigers, who, by the way, we'll get to in a second because Nate Miller is from Detroit, and all of a sudden the Detroit Tigers are red hot. But the fact is the Rangers are there, and you cover them. I think is it fair to say they're probably looking for major league players that may not be as equivalent because there's not that many people that are equivalent to Joey Gallo, but they're probably going to have to get some major league ready players along with a lot of prospects because he's going to get a haul because he's the name right now. He and Chris Bryant are probably the 2 names right now in terms of the trade deadline, Nate.
And it's, like we've been saying for the past couple of minutes, I mean, we're not front office guys. Like, we're speculators. And I honestly just, I've been beating this thing to death in my writing for the past few weeks now, and I just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, none of us do. I get that. All right, let me ask you this. Why don't you tell everybody about what kind of what a team is going to get? Maybe they don't watch a lot of Texas Rangers baseball. So tell us what kind of player, what kind of person Joey Gallo and Kyle Gibson are, and how they're going to be an added value to whoever they go to off the baseball field as well as on the baseball field.
They're players that are, they're productive, but they're quietly productive. More so Gibson than Gallo. But I mean, you just you're not really hearing much about Gibson outside of Texas right now. You're really not. He's 6-2, and he is easily the best pitcher on the Rangers staff right now. And you're just not hearing that much about him outside of Texas. Gallo, you're hearing a lot about just because he's on a tear right now. He's hit 13 home runs in his last 20 games or something like that, in his last 30 games. And it's just it's kind of a different animal with each one.
Go ahead, Charlie.
If you had to move only one of those 2 guys, Nate, who would you like to see him move?
That's a tough question because I like them both. But if I had to move one of them, probably Gibson. Right now we need power as much as we need pitching, and the rest of the guys on the Rangers pitching staff are capable. They're not Gibson, but they are capable. And I don't know if we can do without Gallo as much as we can do without Gibson.
All right, let's move on to the Texas Rangers a little bit. You cover the Texas Rangers. How about this Adolis Garcia? He's been really good. I mean, he came out of nowhere. I didn't hear a lot about him coming into the Rangers system, and I'm not sure if anybody at the Rangers front office knew how good he was going to be. He turns out to be an all-star this year. I watched him for the last 4 weeks now on TV pretty regularly when he comes up to bat. He's a good at bat to see, and he's a lot faster than I thought he was. And his defense is really good because they put him in the center field. What do you know about Adolis Garcia and how much more potential has he got? Obviously, he's got probably a lot of potential since he's a young guy.
He's got the world at his fingertips right now. when I first saw him, I knew he had to be good because his number was in the 50s. usually in training, you see a guy like that, and if he's 50 or less as far as his uniform number, that means he's got to be good. So I was excited back then to see him. I did not anticipate the 20 some odd home runs that he has. I think he's got 22.
Yeah,
and I would have been surprised if he hit 10, back in April. But that's basically because I didn't really know anything about him. But he has been a much, much needed surprise for the Rangers and a much needed boost. He's kept a lot of games close, and really I think he's responsible for at least 3 of Kyle Gibson's wins. I could be wrong, but it seems like it.
A couple more minutes with Nate Miller here. Go ahead, Charlie.
Nate, you obviously watch the American League West. That division is kind of quickly becoming a 2-team race between the Astros and the A's. The Mariners keep trying to grab hold of somebody's coattails, but in typical Mariners fashion, they get close and then they roll back. When you look at the Astros and you look at the A's, who's going to finish on top in that division?
Don't shoot me, Billy. It's going to be the Astros.
Billie Ball, his co-host, big Texas Rangers fan, does not like the Astros, and
no.
She and I have that in common as a Dodgers fan and as a Texas Rangers fan. Do you think the Astros bats can overcome their lack of pitching? Because I'm not really sold on their bullpen, and I'm not sure if they're going to go after any bullpen guys, but they definitely need maybe 1 or 2 starting pitchers in that rotation, because if you get to the playoffs, I got a feeling that they may get beat in the playoffs because they're relying on their bats. And we saw their bats go cold right before the All-Star break, talking about the Astros, and then talking about after the All-Star break when they went into Chicago and lost 2 out of 3 as well too. So what do you like about Houston, and what do you think they need to do? Because to me, they need pitching.
They do, and who knows what they're going to look like next year or whenever Verlander comes back. And it's just, you have to remember, there's still 2 months left. There's still 2 months left in this season. Bats can go cold at times, but still, you have 2 months left. They could get hot again. And I need to wash my mouth out after this because
talking too much Astros.
I don't like this. Like, what are you guys doing to me? But anyway,
you cover the American League West, Nate Miller. Come on now.
Doesn't mean I have to like it. Jeez.
Well, I don't like the NL West teams either, and I'm a Dodgers fan, but I talk about them, and I live in Northern California. By the way, we're not going to get to that until after the last 3 nights for Kenley Jansen either. All right, let me ask you this then. I'll take you off the hook on that because there is 2 months left. There's a lot to do. Any other guys out there outside of the American League West or any other baseball that you've been watching? Trade-wise, any other names that maybe nobody's heard of in terms of from the Rangers or from anywhere else that you're looking at from a trade prospect in terms of the trade value that they have? Everybody knows about Chris Bryant and Baez probably in Chicago, but any other names in the American League, you follow the American League that are possible trade candidates as we go in? Because remember, there's only one trade deadline. There's no waiver trade deadline after July 31st. This is it. Come next Friday.
Truthfully, the one guy that I was watching was traded yesterday, Nelson Cruz from Minnesota to Tampa Bay. And he just he wasn't really running away with his numbers, but he was, producing. And I thought, he could be useful to a lot of teams. And lo and behold, Tampa Bay went up and snatched him. And but good for him. I mean, he's finding life after his Rangers days. How many people thought he would, and he is. But yeah, he was the one that I was really watching closely. And another guy who just got traded 20 minutes ago, Rich Hill. I was watching him too. He got traded to the Mets, and so good for him. I mean, talk about journeyman. Seriously.
Yeah, no kidding.
So yeah, those were the, two of the guys that I was watching, and really, I mean, all the rest of them just kind of blend together sometimes.
All right, last one for me. We'll let you get out of here. You're from Detroit. You're from Michigan originally. You grew up as a Tigers fan. How about watching the Detroit Tigers this year? They've got some really good young pitchers. They've got the 5th best record in the American League since May 7th. Mm-hmm. Right now, they're on a 7-game winning streak. They just swept your other team, the Rangers, in 4 straight in Detroit. But, boy, they look really good. Mm-hmm. And it seems like A.J. Hinch has them going. And I know A.J. Hinch is another ex-Astro in your mouth right now. But the fact is he's managing your childhood team. And I have a connection to the Tigers as well, too, from back in the 70s and 80s. So what about the Tigers and how far – they're obviously not going to win the division this year. But, boy, they're only 7.5 or 8 back in the wild card right now. You think they got a run in them? Or is this something to build on for the next few years?
A little bit of both, really. That's definitely – I mean, no matter where you finish, you can always build on next year. So it's going to be a little bit of both. They can build on next year, and I think they have a little bit of a run in them. I think the wild card is a possibility, a remote possibility, but a possibility. But yeah, it'll be exciting to watch. As much as I hated seeing them sweep Texas over the week, it's been fun to watch. I mean, 7 in a row. Of course, they do it after I move. I just wish I really wish Cabrera would do more. I know he's getting older, but he's kind of one of their big money tickets right now, and still, I can't believe it. But I really want to see him do more, and but yeah, it's been a lot of fun to at least pay attention to those guys. I can't watch them here, but
we'll fix that for you. We'll fix that for you.
Yeah, good luck. But yeah, they've been fun to watch.
Anything else, Charlie?
Hey, it's gonna be interesting. Be interested to talk to you, Nate, after the trade deadline and get your analysis on just what happened and what you think the future looks like after that.
Right on. Hopefully the sideburns will be gone by then.
Yeah. All right, Nate. Nate Miller of the Fishbowl Radio Network, the Basement Show, started out in Detroit in a basement, moved his way into the press box in the Texas Rangers with the IBWAA, Internet Baseball Writers of America, Association of America. I'll get it right. IBWAA. You do a great job with Billy. Please say hi to Billy for me. And
sure.
Thank you for coming on. And we will talk to you sometime soon, Nate.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Nate.
All right. Nate Miller of the Fishbowl Radio Network and of the Internet Baseball Writers of America Association, the IBWAA. The Baseball Writers of America Association have their print, and now he's the Texas Rangers beat writer for the internet, and he's the beat writer for them. Interesting story with Nate. We'll get into it next time when we do a profile on him, but he's disabled and he's had some issues growing up in his life, but he's persevered everything. He's become real good friends with Jason Benetti, the Chicago White Sox announcer, who has the same affliction he does. His girlfriend's in a wheelchair, and his co-host Billie Ball is amputee, and she's got a prosthetic leg. So it's really a good story to see everybody come through and stick to what they want to do and stick to their dreams. And he's a good lesson for everybody to do it. And he does good work on the IBWAA with the interviews and the internet and the writing for the Rangers, as well as the Basement Show, which is every Wednesday at 1 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock on the West Coast on the Fishbowl Radio Network. You can get to him on his Facebook page, and you can get to him on Instagram and on Twitter. So our thanks to Nate Miller again. All right, Charlie, we'll talk a little baseball. We'll cap off the NBA in 30 seconds. A lot to finish up. This is our first show of the week with you and I together, so I'm sure we have some opinions on the NBA together. And then we'll preview the baseball weekend, as well as review the week that was in Major League Baseball between LA and San Francisco, Oakland and Anaheim, and various other cities that had some big matchups this week. Back in 30 seconds, this is the Make the Money and Run podcast for Friday, July 23rd, 2021. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast for July 23rd, 2021. Vasu Vaddiparty, Charlie O here with you. Lots to think about here in terms of the baseball, Charlie, in terms of how the week went and in terms of baseball. We'll get to all that in a second, but you and I have not done a show since the Milwaukee Bucks have become champions. How about that? Down 0-2 to the Phoenix Suns. They looked like they were in dead trouble, and sure enough, they run off 4 straight, including the Game 5 victory on the road, the only time the underdog won and covered in the series. Well, covered anyway, and then obviously won outright for the Milwaukee Bucks. And once you win Game 5, you're a 72% chance to win the NBA championship. And sure enough, they did a 105-98 victory over Phoenix. They did cover. They did stay under the game. First championship for the Bucks in Milwaukee. 51 years. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was Lou Alcindor then. Oscar Robertson was on that team. John McLaughlin, who not a lot of people know unless they're older and watched Milwaukee Bucks TV. But Giannis, how about Giannis? 50 points, 14 rebounds, led the way. Bobby Portis, who turned down $22 million in the option year from the Knicks last year, signs for about $3 million for the Bucks this year. Comes up huge off the bench with 16. He's been big all playoffs for them. Middleton had 17. But, boy, their defense from Game 3 on just turned it on, Charlie.
Yeah, it was an amazing close to that entire series. I have to tell you, you talk about a series that just flipped on its head. We use those terms a lot, but this one truly was one of those situations. And Giannis became the superstar before our eyes that we always thought that he was. But Middleton, I mean, I don't think a lot of NBA fans, except the real hardcore fans, knew much about Middleton. And Middleton came out and became a real star. Portis, as you talked about, came out and was became big before everybody's eyes. One of the great stories for me is PJ Tucker. He was a Sun, goes to Milwaukee and wins a championship. And what is he? 104 years old?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And so there's just a lot of stories. Budenholzer, if he doesn't get that team deep into the playoffs, he's unemployed. I mean, seriously, folks, there was no doubt about it. If that team had dropped out early in the playoffs, Budenholzer was not going to be the coach next year for the Bucks. And what does he do? He wins a championship. I mean, it's a story that you write, and if you write that story, people say it's bad fiction. So it was great. My favorite moment was the morning after the Bucks won, and Giannis is driving through Chick-fil-A and orders 50 chicken nuggets, and he turns to the little gal that's taking his order and says, "It's okay, I put you on video. 150,000 people are watching you." And she goes, "What? Yeah, it's okay." And he puts her on the video with him. I just said, there's a really cool guy. So it was really good. I'm happy for Milwaukee. Milwaukee's a great sports town, and they have, man, you talk about a group of fans that have supported a team through thick and through thin. It's been a long time since Kareem slash Alcindor and the Big O and everybody else was there, and so it's a well-deserved championship for the fans as well who have supported that team.
It's really interesting to see how the defense turned around. Game 3 and Game 4, nobody gave them much of a chance after Game 2. Phoenix covered easily in both games, in 1 and 2 in Phoenix. They thought that they were going to get people were thinking that Milwaukee was going to get maybe one game if they were lucky to win this to be in the series, and it was going to be a Phoenix sweep the way that they were playing. And then Game 3 and Game 4 back at home, Milwaukee dominated defensively. Whatever Budenholzer did defensively, clearly it was to shut down Devin Booker, and they didn't do a very good job of shutting down Booker in Game 4 and 5. But Game 3, after the broken nose, he did have a bad game. And then Game 4 and Game 5, Booker had 40 points, even though that they did lose. Milwaukee had a big lead, a 16-point lead in the first quarter, and then they got outscored. Then they outscored them 28-21 after the game was tied after 3. Phoenix in the second and third quarter came back and showed who they were. Chris Paul with 26, but Devin Booker in Game 6 only 8 of 22. 44% from the field, 6 of 25 from three-point field goal range, 0 of 8 in the fourth quarter in terms of three-point field goals. Any one of those field goals would have covered the 4.5 in a 7-point game. I'm just saying that out loud for the Make the Money and Run crowd. But, yeah, any one of them would have covered the 4.5 points in terms of the point spread. But all the favorites except for Game 5 came through. Milwaukee defensively showed how much they're better. You think anybody's worried about Giannis's jump shot or three-point shooting now anymore, Charlie?
No, I don't think anybody's worried about Giannis, period, at this point. And, it's pretty amazing. He's established himself now. People will shut up, and everybody's going, how did we not figure out a way to sign that guy and pull him out of Milwaukee? And it's pretty neat too. He made some post-game statements of, hey, I did it without having to go and join a super team someplace. And that's pretty cool too. And it's a small market. We've talked about for the last several years that it would be nice to see a small market team become an NBA champion again. And we saw that happen. So that's a pretty cool thing for NBA fans, hopeful for NBA fans in markets like Sacramento and Portland and even Phoenix. Although it looks like now that the landscape in Phoenix could be changing because there's a lot of talk that Chris Paul is not going to be back in Phoenix next season. And unbelievably, it looks like he could wind up with the Lakers. Of course, the Lakers not afraid to spend, not afraid to pay luxury tax, and they can't pull it off with a trade. It doesn't look like, because they really don't have assets to pull a trade off. But Chris Paul has an option; he can opt out, and the Buss family not afraid to spend the money, and he could wind up in Los Angeles wearing a gold Laker uniform. And yeah, I think it'd make a huge difference for the Lakers. Does it make them NBA champs? I don't think so, but it makes them deep. And if they can add some other assets, it could make a huge difference in the West.
Let's continue on that trend here. Right after the game ended, the next day, Vegas, as they always do, come out with the 2021-22 odds for the NBA championship. The Brooklyn Nets come out as the favorite, I think at plus 225. Milwaukee, I believe, was fourth. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Maybe you do, Charlie. I was looking on my site. They didn't post them yet. The Lakers were second on that list of NBA championship futures odds. And I believe I don't even remember who was third, but I think Phoenix was sixth down the list. Obviously, that could change if Chris Paul leaves. They've got the core group of guys. If they can get another veteran guy in there, if Chris Paul leaves, that Phoenix could be formidable. Wherever Damian Lillard ends up, could end up in the top 5, top 10. Apparently, the Warriors are very interested in Damian Lillard. So let's take about 5 minutes here, Charlie, if we can, and talk about the landscape of 2021-22 from how the NBA is going to look. We're going to get back to a regular NBA season. It's going to start in October. It's going to be 82 games, and all the protocols will still be in place. But it sounds like business as usual. And of course, Vegas is involved in it. We've got the way too early, no need for the futures champions odds on July 23rd, but here they are.
Which, by the way, the NBA season tips off in 63 days. Okay, so that's unbelievable. But because of the way everything has been sliding,
you're talking about training camp. Training camp.
No. The NBA season tips off in 63 days.
On September 22nd or September 25th?
It tips off in 63 days.
Okay. All right.
So I don't know how that works, but that was my talk show host guys were telling me yesterday, 63 days it tips off.
All right.
So, that's crazy. Hey, odds wise, the early odds are Brooklyn plus 200, Lakers plus 525, Milwaukee plus 900, the Warriors plus 1200, Phoenix plus 1300, the Jazz 1400, Sixers plus 1600, Clippers plus 2000, Nuggets 2000, and then everybody else after that. So those are early. And of course, we really can't pay too much attention to those yet because we know the Lakers are going to make some personnel changes. The Warriors certainly are going to make some changes. And Phoenix, there's going to be some changes. So you have to kind of take those with a grain of salt yet to see what's going to happen there.
It'll be interesting to see. The NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo, proved himself to be a superstar. World champions, NBA champions for 2020, 2020, 2021. What a year it was after coming off of COVID last year, and they have to play the 72 games, and they did it, and they went through everything that they went through, and so good for them as well, too. All right, a lot of baseball to talk about coming up. We're going to take a 30-second break. The Cubs and Diamondbacks are going to be playing in 50 minutes, so for those of you on the wagering track, Cubs Diamondbacks at 2:20 Eastern, 11:20 Pacific. It'll be on the MLB Network. We'll have all the baseball talk as we get to the second half of the show, back in 30 seconds with the Make the Money and Run podcast for July 23rd, 2021. Vasu, Vaddiparty, Charlie O here with you. Vasu, Vaddiparty, Charlie O here with you on the Make the Money and Run podcast for July 23rd, 2021, our Friday show, where we review the week that was in baseball and also preview the weekend of baseball. A lot of things going on in baseball this week, Charlie. By the way, in case baseball related, not really wagering type, because I don't know a lot of people that wager on the Olympics. The Olympics are going to start today. The ceremony tonight will be great from what I understand from a baseball perspective. I don't know if you saw it already or not, Charlie, on one of the cable outlets. Sandahara.
I did not get up at 4 a.m. Pacific time to watch it.
Is that when it started? I didn't know. Is that when the live ceremony was, the opening ceremony?
Yeah, it was 7 a.m. Eastern time, 4 a.m. Pacific time live.
Okay. All right.
So,
well, that makes sense.
No, I did not get up.
No, I didn't get up either. I'll be looking forward to seeing it tonight. And the one part of the ceremony and the ceremony I'll be looking forward to see is the great baseball player Sandahara, 81 years old, being walked up the stairs by Godzilla Hideki Matsui, another Japanese baseball star, up to the torch where he passes it off to Naomi Osaka, which I'm sure a lot of people are questioning why she would be lighting the torch, but that's not for me to say. That's way above our pay grade. But the fact is that from a baseball perspective, and you and I are historians of the game, to watch Sandahara go up, represent his country, and represent the ambassadorship that he had for baseball around the world, not just in Japan. And Hideki Matsui, another great Japanese baseball star, obviously very well known here for his days with the Yankees and winning a world championship with the New York Yankees as well, too. To have him help up the 81-year-old up the stairs to pass the flame on to Naomi Osaka to light the torch. Be very inspirational and very emotional ceremony tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing that somewhere from an airport or where I'm going to be at tonight, but somewhere I'll watch it, and it'll be good to see. So that's what's going on Olympic-wise. We haven't forgotten about the Olympics, especially considering we didn't have it last year. It's good to see things are starting back in Tokyo as well, too. All right, you can catch us every Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays right here on Facebook and YouTube Live. Want to thank Vince and Janine for tuning in right now live, as well as everybody on YouTube Live as well. Download and subscribe. Rate and review anywhere you get your podcasts. You can check us out on social media. We're also going to have later picks by 6 o'clock Eastern as well. Check us out at any of those handles right there on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Charlie and I have a Facebook and Instagram page. Make the Money and Run also has a Facebook page as well, too. Ask us any questions you want, any games you want us to preview. Who's your team? Are you buyers or sellers as the trade deadline comes up? All right, speaking of baseball, as we get to it, the ticker is going to run to the bottom with the lines. So let's get to the baseball lines as it is right now. Actually, let's do this right here real quick. The baseball. How about let's start off with the baseball here a little bit. I'm not sick over Kenley Jansen, but there are a lot of LA fans that are sick over Kenley Jansen. Even though Kenley Jansen had really nothing to do with it, there were a lot of factors that went in. Yes, he's blown 3 saves in a row, but going into the Wilmer Flores home run game, he did blow the save before that, but going into the save over the weekend that he did blow, 3 saves in a row he's blown. They're talking about, I heard Mike Krukow on the radio here locally. Obviously, the Giants fans are very happy at what happened. What a comeback in the 9th inning. I don't know if you saw it or not, but the fact, I'll give the Giants credit for one thing, and we talked about this in regards to the Oakland A's. about 6 weeks ago. The Giants grind, and they grind and grind and grind. They do not give at bats away. They fight till the very end, and even secondary leads are very important in baseball because that game could have been over before Darren Ruff got up to plate. Sheldon Noisy is a defensive replacement, did not stretch out for that ball at second base. The second run scored. Then Darren Ruff, who was walked originally on 4 pitches but had a bad strike call and then struck out. First base umpire, I guess it was, I don't know who the first base umpire was, but apparently did not see that as a swing. Dave Roberts got thrown out for the second night in a row after Casali didn't get a called third strike. I mean, I know I'm a Dodgers fan. I give the Giants a ton of credit here, but boy, these last 2 nights have been very, very exciting, Charlie. And if this is going to be the way it's going to be for the next 2 months, we're in for some really good baseball.
Well, and we hope it is going to be this way for the next 2 months. I mean, that's what makes baseball fun. But as far as Jensen, come on, Dodgers fans, calm down. It's going to be all right. First of all, this happens in baseball. It's a 162 game season. You're going to have moments like this. And with a guy like Jensen, sometimes he's boom and bust. Okay, there are great moments and there are not so great moments, but you have to take these moments to get those great moments. And in that game last night, and when I first heard the news this morning on SportsCenter, they said, well, it was a questionable call, potential third strike call. I'm going, okay, here they go. They're apologizing for the Dodgers again. Then I saw the call and I said, oh my God, that was a strike. And, they should have been out of it. Now, okay. And please don't start. Well, we should have replay for everything. No, we can't have.
No, we don't.
You can't start that. Yeah, they should have been out of that game. Okay, so it went against them. There'll be something. One of the things that you've got to know, baseball always equalizes itself, and they'll get a game back for the game they lost last night. It always equalizes itself. They'll get a game back that they should have lost. They'll win a game that will equalize that game. Don't worry about it. But, they don't need to find another closer. Everything is fine in Dodgerland. So don't worry about it. It's just going to be a fight in the West right down to the end. And more than likely, it's still shaping up like the fact that unless the Padres keep slipping, and my partner keeps telling us that the Padres aren't as good as everybody said they are. And you know what? He keeps continually being right. It could well be that the playoff teams, the wild card teams, both come out of the West. So there's no need in Dodgerland to panic. And so enjoy the rivalry, enjoy the race. And I think it's going to be great.
Dodgers 3 games back, 4 back in the loss column. The Padres are 7 back in the loss column, 5.5 back in the standings overall. The Giants will have Pittsburgh this weekend. The Dodgers will have Colorado. After the last 3 games in LA against the Giants, I'm going to feel really bad for the Colorado Rockies this weekend because I got a feeling the Dodgers might be taking out some extra aggression on the Colorado Rockies. And San Francisco Giants fans, a loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates counts just as much as a win against the LA Dodgers. So be careful with the Pirates, who, except for the Arizona series this week where they got swept by Arizona in 3 straight, the Pirates have been playing well. Adam Frazier and Brian Reynolds lead the league in hits and hitting right now, and they're 2 stars on that Pittsburgh Pirates team. Don't underestimate the Pittsburgh Pirates at all in this 3-game series for the Giants. San Diego has Miami. They squeaked out a 3-2 win last night with Melanson getting another save. Padres had 3 runs. They split the series against Atlanta. They had 1 game suspended, 1 game rained out. Fernando Tatis hit another home run. He's on fire. Defensively, I'm still not sold on him, but right now he's looking like the National League MVP with 28 home runs. And then you go to the American League Central, the Milwaukee. How about the Milwaukee Brewers? They get swept by the Kansas City Royals this year. Twice in Kansas City, twice this week to the Royals. I think I had the Brewers both days, Tuesday and Wednesday, and the Royals went in and beat them surprisingly. Brewers still maintain a 6.5 game lead over Cincinnati. Cannot figure the Cincinnati Reds out. Tyler Mahle will go tonight, as we see on the screen here, against St. Louis. St. Louis just took 3 out of 4 from the Cubs. It'll be Wade LeBlanc and Wade LeBlanc going for St. Louis. Oh, I'm sorry. I got it mixed up. I still thought they were playing each other. Zach Davies going against Zach Gallen for the Cubs, 137-10 over. St. Louis is going to Cincinnati, a pretty heavy underdog, 153. Tommy Maley and Wade LeBlanc. That division's still up in the air here. It seems like St. Louis is playing better. Now they're 2 games up on the Cubs in third place, a half a game back of the Cardinals. And in the wild card scenario, St. Louis is 7 back of the wild card, and the Reds are 6.5 back, both of the Padres right now. Atlanta and Philadelphia 8 back. They might be too far in the wild card. They may have to focus on the NL East, the interleague games. We'll talk about the interleague games in a second right now. But, Charlie, let's look at these National League games we have on the screen here. Philadelphia, Zach Wheeler going tonight against Max Fried. The Braves got a big win last night. Dansby Swanson. This is a big rivalry series as well, too. Atlanta, Philadelphia, right there in the East. But right now they're looking up to the Mets right now as well. Miami, San Diego, we said Joe Musgrove will throw against Thompson tonight. He's about $1.57 favorite, 8 the total. Cincinnati, 153 with Tyler Mahle. I bet on Mahle the last 2 games. It hasn't worked out for me, both against Milwaukee. St. Louis, $1.43 underdog. That's pretty high for St. Louis right now, coming off a 3 out of 4 at home, but they are going to Cincinnati. The total 9.5. Charlie's theory of Friday night baseball in Cincinnati may come into play, but Tyler Mahle's been pretty good. And then Johnny Cueto's $1.87 favorite, 8.5 the total against a pretty surprising Pittsburgh Pirates ball club. Chad Kuhl going. They did lose to Arizona in 3 straight. Arizona, by the way, only the second home series they've won all year against the Pirates with that sweep. So there are your National League games, Charlie. Go for it.
Well, first of all, are Cincinnati and St. Louis just playing every weekend? I mean, it just
like the Yankees and Red Sox.
Yankees and Red Sox. I mean, it just seems like, okay, it's the weekend, so Cincinnati and St. Louis are playing. And by the way, yeah, take the over. just take the over. Night games, Cincinnati, take the over. It's there's some interesting games there. I think you're right in that Pirates-Giants game. Respect the Pirates. Look at that one very closely. The Pirates, even though they've struggled, they're not a horrible team. They're not a horrible team. Their second baseman,
Adam Frazier,
maybe gone, and then the shortstop also. Their shortstop may be gone as well. They're both up on the trade deadline.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds also. Yeah. Ryan Reynolds could be on the trading block as well too. So, a couple of pitchers. Their closer Rodriguez is a really good closer, and I know a lot of teams are looking at him as well too. So they've got some commodities. They're like the Texas Rangers right now in terms of trade bait. But Adam Frazier, David Fletcher, not the 2 biggest guys in baseball, and yet they both lead their respective leagues in hits this year. And for A's fans, David Fletcher has not gotten every hit against the A's, but he has hit the ball against everybody.
And Vasu, let me just jump for a second, and I won't spend a lot of time here. But if you happen to watch any of the MLB draft, there was a very interesting situation that happened this year. In the past, both for position players and pitchers, the tendency had been to go for giants. Not San Francisco Giants, but giant people going for the Aaron Judges, going for the pitchers who were 6'7". That's not what happened this year. A lot of the players that were drafted high for position players were 5'11", 5'10", 6 feet. Pitchers, 5'11", 6 foot, 6'1", because they're finding that players in that size range and in that range between 175 and 210, their injury rate is far lower than those players who are in that more massive range. And so we're going to see in the future smaller ball players on the field because they think they can stay on the field longer. Fascinating.
Totally fascinating. No, the draft was interesting. Didn't get a chance to spend a lot of time on the draft. The number 1 pick went to the Pittsburgh Pirates, Henry Davis. Obviously, the number 1 pick there was pretty prominent in the College World Series as well, too. He's a catcher for the Pirates. All right, interesting series for me in the National League before we move on to the American League. Atlanta, Philadelphia, they're both 4 games back in the National League East behind the Mets. Washington, we'll get to Washington in a second. In the National League games right now, Chicago, I'll be interested to see because the trade deadline comes up. Who's going to stay, who's going to go with both the Cubs and the Diamondbacks as well. The Cardinals and Reds we talked about already. The National League Central kind of running away by Milwaukee, although the 2 losses to Kansas City tell me that race is not over yet. And, of course, the Giants, they just took 3 out of 4 from the Dodgers this week. They have a 4-game lead in the loss column, 3 games on the Dodgers right now. I'm going to feel really bad for Colorado this weekend because I had a feeling the Dodgers are going to pull out all the boomsticks this weekend. David Price and Chichi Gonzalez tonight in Dodger Stadium for 3. The Giants have the Pirates for 3. Don't underestimate the Pittsburgh Pirates. And Dodger fans, don't get on Kenley Jansen. By the way, Kenley Jansen, before we get to the American League, really quick, Kenley Jansen, before the 3 blown saves this week, had only allowed 17 hits and struck out 44 guys in 37 and a third innings this year. So he's under Hall of Fame consideration, and the fact that they've been booed off the field. I know he's had rough struggles the last couple of years with injuries. They are the world champions, and you just can't go after your guys like that. And Dave Roberts, calculated or uncalculated, the last 2 nights of getting thrown out of a game. Yeah, they got rooked out of calls, but there were a lot of calls, Dodger fans, and I'm talking to myself too here, that happened last night in last night's game. First of all, the good base running by the Giants. Sheldon Noisy at second base did not stretch for the ball like a first baseman. He was safe at second, and thus the rough walk. And, yeah, that was strike 3 on Darren Ruff, but they also got a break on the 2-0 pitch for the called strike as well, too. So there are a lot of factors that go into it. It's not always one guy, and I'm trying to tell everybody that. And Dodger fans won't listen because some are fanatics, as they are fans, as I am too. But Kenley Jansen, not to blame in this scenario. That game should have been over 2 batters earlier.
Vasu, it's baseball.
It's baseball.
It's never one guy. It's only one guy when it's tennis. It's only one guy when it's golf.
Right.
It's never one guy when it's baseball.
Yeah, that's true. And he did have 3 blown saves in a row, and he did give up hits, but he's been outstanding, and they wouldn't be in the position where they are right now without his 24 saves to begin with. So let's just remember that as well, too. And by the way, Tyler Rogers gets a lot of credit for coming back after giving the game-winning home run on Tuesday night to come back and go 1-2-3 on Wednesday night against the Dodgers as well, too. All right, in our last few minutes here, let's hit the American League. You're right, Charlie. The Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees play each other every weekend. Again, tonight, the best of 4. Did you see how? I don't know if people saw how the Red Sox won last night, but it was an interesting way to win last night. Kike Hernandez, a 2-run double. I don't know where Aroldis Chapman is. I don't know if he's ineffective and they're just not using him. But Chad Green came in, tried to close it out. Kike Hernandez, former Dodger, gets a 2-run double off the wall. The game tied. Yankees get a run in the 10th. And then I forgot the kid's first name. Brooks Risky comes in the bottom of the 10th inning and throws 4 wild pitches, allows the runner at second that started the inning to come all the way around to score to tie the game. And then a walk, another wild pitch, and then a sacrifice fly by Hunter Renfroe to get Bogarts home, and the Red Sox come away with a victory after Tampa Bay had also come from behind against Cleveland as well, too. So here's Tampa Bay thinking that they were going to be tied with the Red Sox coming into the night. Tampa Bay was down 4-1 late in the game to Cleveland as well, too, and they end up coming back in 10 innings and winning, too. It's going to be quite a race in the American League East, Charlie. The Boston Red Sox and the Yankees play tonight. Cleveland is hosting Tampa Bay tonight again after Tampa Bay won in extra innings. The Yankees are 8 back after that crushing loss. Toronto, 8.5 back. We'll get to the interleague games in a second because Toronto and the Mets will be very interesting. And, of course, Baltimore may have trade pieces, including Trey Mancini. I'm surprised his name hasn't come up yet. In the American League Central, the White Sox are 9 up on Cleveland. Detroit has won 7 in a row. They're 4 games under 500. They've got the 5th best record in the American League since May 7th right now. Unfortunately, they're too far back in the division at 12 back, but they are 9 back in the wild card, and I'm not sure they're going to be good enough for the wild card. But how about this run of being undefeated by the Detroit Tigers? Matt Manning, Casey Mize, guys like that have been starting. And yesterday's starter, I watched the game on MLB Network yesterday, and they look good, and they're putting all the pieces together. And A.J. Hinch pitching really well. Get the pitching really well. They've got the bats going. It's not even Miguel Cabrera. It's all these other guys. And as a Tiger guy growing up, my neighbor was Lance Parrish, who wore 13. Eric Haas is a catcher for the Tigers. It's very funny to me to see number 13 behind the plate and not have it be Lance Parrish behind the plate. And he hit a bomb of a 3-run home run like the Big Wheel used to do back in the day in the first inning to give them a 3-0 lead. And they're on a roll. 7-game winning streak, the hottest team in baseball right now. I'm looking through it. Yep. Nobody else anywhere near a 7-game winning streak. So be interesting. The Angels, they're trying to make a run at it. I just can't figure them out. They get a 3-2 win in Minnesota. Alex Cobb has pitched well. Jay Happ on the mound for Minnesota. They just traded Nelson Cruz. We haven't even got to that yet. Nelson Cruz got traded from the Twins to the Tampa Bay Rays. Houston and Texas will play this weekend. Odorizzi, Kobe Allard. Rangers lost 9 in a row, as our guest Nate Miller said. And then those red-hot Tigers are going to Kansas City to play the Royals tonight. Bubic and Peralta in the American League. But how about Nelson Cruz, Charlie? Let's hit that a little bit. Nelson Cruz, we knew he was going to be traded. A little surprised he went to Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay went after him.
Not a little surprise, a huge surprise, because Tampa Bay doesn't normally make these kind of gigantic moves, and it was a 4-player trade, 2 pitchers and actually 3 pitchers going to Minnesota. 2 of those pitchers were rated number 10 and 17 in their system, and then it's a high-level AA prospect that went. And I thought, wow, that seems awfully high for the Tampa Bay system. However, Buster Olney, I saw him just before we started the broadcast, said that you have to understand the Tampa Bay system is so loaded.
Yeah.
That these guys were second-tier players. And I'm going, oh my gosh, second tier. So he said they could more than afford to make this move. And so they did. So, but when he said these guys, when your number 10 and 17 pitching prospects are second tier, that scared the liver out of me, man. How deep is that system?
No doubt about it. Well, that's how they built their system up. And you see, they've seen some of the bad times, and they've seen a lot of good times lately in the last few years with the World Series appearance and the ALCS championship last year. They are 1 game back, and Nelson Cruz is going to help them big time down the stretch. Their DHs were only hitting about 218 coming in, and they were second to last in most strikeouts in the American League amongst all the DHs. So as far as the American League games go, Boston, New York, obviously one of the series to watch. Tampa Bay, Cleveland, I'll be watching just for the sake of Tampa Bay. The Astros, of course, the Astros bats. Are they going to get any pitching? And then in Seattle, the A's got a 4-1 victory over the Seattle Mariners last night. It extended their lead to 4.5 games over Seattle. Seattle now 7 back in the division. The A's 2.5 back after they picked up a half game on the Astros, who were idle yesterday. The Astros have the Rangers. Oakland continues this 4-game series with Seattle tonight with Frankie Montas, who I'm still not sold on, though he pitched great last time out after the All-Star break. He's had 2 good starts after the All-Star break, and he's going to get the ball. He's going to get the ball tonight against Yusei Kikuchi and the Seattle Mariners. The total 7.5. That Marine Lair last night, it was 0-0 for a while. Chris Flexen was pitching well for the Mariners, as was Sean Manaea, who had 13 strikeouts in 6 2/3 innings, 7 innings I think he had. But Chris Flexen, coming over from the Korean Baseball League, is 9-4 now with the Seattle Mariners and 6-3 at home. So he pitched well, and he was a formidable opponent at plus 132 last night. I thought it might have been a good play for the Mariners as the underdog at home. But the A's bats came through. They've got game 1 of the series. They're putting the pressure on the Astros, and in fact, they're putting the pressure on the Mariners as well, too, as the team in third place and also in their division, 4.5 back of the wild card position that the A's are in right now. It's the second wild card, Charlie.
Yeah, you know, we talked a lot about the Mariners. The Mariners are doing the Mariners thing. They always get us excited, and they kind of reach up and they get close, and you go, here they come. And then you look back and you go, there they go. You know, and they just always seem to be that pitcher in that position player short. They just a couple of guys. And you think, wow, why can't they just do that breakthrough? And they can't seem to do it. And they're about to do the Mariners march to the middle. That's because that's what they do every year about this time of the season. They're gonna move back. They're not going to be contenders come September, and it's going to be the Astros and the A's and everybody else. And that's what's going to happen, except that they're going to continue to be a thorn in the side of the A's, because that's what the Mariners and the Rangers do. They The A's just can't seem to figure either one of those teams out on an ongoing basis over the course of a season.
It'll be interesting to see with the trade deadline next week what the Astros do from a pitching standpoint. I think their bats can go cold every once in a while, but right now I think the pitching may be where they need to go, and especially in the bullpen for the Houston Astros. But the A's right now on a roll. They've got 3 more with Seattle. We'll figure it out where we go from there. All right, the interleague games for the weekend. The Beltway series between the Nationals, who are still in the mix of things. They are 6 games back in the East. They're a ways back in the wild card, I believe. They're 10 back in the wild card, but 6 back in the East. Patrick Corbin against Jorge Lopez, the Orioles. We know how bad the Orioles are, 10 the total at Baltimore, the 3-game series this weekend. The New York Mets and the Toronto Blue Jays. It's going to be an interesting series. No DH for Toronto here with Matt McGill going for McGill going for the Mets. Matt McGill, somebody else. Steven Matz, the former Met, pitching for Toronto. Toronto, an underdog tonight. Very slight underdog, but Steven Matz had great success in New York as a Met. Now he comes back as a Blue Jay with a lot better hitting club. I think Toronto clearly has a better hitting club than the Mets do right now, but the Mets are in first place in the National League East, which is pretty weak, by 4 games over Atlanta and Philadelphia and 6 over Washington, as we said. Toronto, 8.5 back. They're on a 2-game losing streak, but they're going into a pitching staff this weekend where they may not have to face DeGrom, so it could benefit Toronto a lot this series, with the Yankees and Red Sox beating each other up, and Tampa Bay and Cleveland facing each other, which is no easy task on the road for Tampa Bay as well, too. Your thoughts, New York Mets, Toronto, Charlie, and then the last one, the Milwaukee Brewers in first place against the Chicago White Sox in first place. That's going to be a big series, too. Freddie Peralta, one of the aces for Milwaukee, one of the 3 aces, going up against Lucas Giolito. The White Sox a road dog at Milwaukee, the total 7.5. Milwaukee doesn't hit all that great. I think they're last in the NL in hitting, but that pitching staff has been so good. And Josh Hader closing it out, Woodruff, Burns, and Peralta, and then Josh Hader closing it out, but Lucas Giolito trying to get the White Sox off the schneid here for this weekend series, Charlie.
Yeah, as far as the Blue Jays and the Mets, I think the lack of a DH is going to be a tad bit of a neutralizer for the Blue Jays. They need that DH in that lineup. But again, we're also going to see a little bit of what the Mets are made of in this situation, because they are going to go up against a team that can hit. You're absolutely right when you talk about the weakness of the National League East. A very, very weak division. And the Mets have been talked about as players for in the trade market for everybody. You know, they seem to be shopping for everybody. So who knows what's going to happen? They've got an owner with deep pockets, and so we'll find out whether he's going to become the new big buyer in New York, since the Yankees don't seem to be really going deep. Although now they're talking about maybe getting a shortstop and moving Torres over to second base. So I don't know. Who knows in New York? New York is either going to buy everybody or nobody. We know that. And then go ahead.
We'll find out. We'll find out as we're running out of time here. We'll find out what the trade deadline has. We'll find out what the trade deadlines have next week as well. Braves, Phillies will go up against each other. That'll help the Mets in their scenario. All right, real quick, Charlie, go over your picks here as we wind down the show.
Okay, in Boston, I like the Yankees tonight, plus 100 on that game. I think they're going to be ready to come back. Just watch the weather. It could be a rain out there. In Minnesota, I like the Angels plus 125. And then Oakland versus Seattle. I'm taking the home dog. I'm learning to like home dogs in baseball. And Seattle, they like to beat up on Oakland. And it's Frankie Montas.
All right, real quick for me, I'm going to go with the Cubs early. That's going to start in about 20 minutes. Zach Wheeler and the Phillies tonight. Boston at home. We're going to go against each other in that one. The White Sox at Milwaukee, plus 116. And I'm going to go with the Blue Jays at plus 103. So that's it for the weekend. Weekend preview, weekend review of the MLB. We'll be back with you on Monday a little early. Check the social media pages as well. I'm Vasu Vaddiparty for Charlie O. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for July 23rd, 2021. Have a great weekend and good luck with all your games.